I get a lot of questions, especially from new users, about how to email clients in Vacation CRM. So this video I'm going to go over all of the different options on how you can email your clients from the system. Now there are three main ways that you can email them. There are the email icon emails, the regular email templates. There are automated emails, and then there are customized automated emails, which are called email groups that you can configure. So I'll go over all of those for you. Now, for admins of the system, you will have a couple of extra options. So I want to go over those first, and then we'll get into the actual email details. So for starters, when you click over settings as an admin, you'll see I have two options right here. I have auto email templates and then email templates. And then also, if I go to system settings, I have another option here called default email templates. Now, default email templates and email templates are for the email icons you see throughout the system. The difference in these two options are anything you set up in here is agency wide. So if you wanted to set up verbiage for your, final payment reminder emails that are tied to the final payment section of the dashboard, you can set these up and your agents can use what you've set up in those templates. What this is for is if a user wants to use something slightly different than what the agency owner has set up for their templates, they can go into this section here and they can enable these, which I've done, and then they will use these templates that they've set up on their own rather than the default agency templates that you see here. So that's why there are two options there. Now also for admins, initially when you sign up, you may not have this option here for auto email templates. If that is the case, you can go to system settings and then company settings, which I'm just going to open in a new tab here. And there's an option to enable auto emails for agents. So you do need to check this. Now don't worry, checking this is not going to make anything send out automatically. So from day one, even if you're not ready to have automated emails go out, you can check this box and click save. That's just going to give you the access to those up here. Now after you save that, you probably will need to log out and log back in before you will see this. So go ahead and do that. And then you and your agents can start setting up your automated emails. Now for starters, I'm going to start with the regular email templates because those were the original ones we had. Again, these are tied to the email icons throughout the system. Now once you get going, I have found that a lot of agencies no longer use most of these because they set up the automated emails, but some people still prefer to set them up so you can click the email icons rather than rely on VCRM to send them out for you. So I'm going to open this screen here and go in here. So these are the different templates you can set up. So it's pretty straightforward as far as what template is what. This is for the final payment reminder. Most of these are accessed by clicking the email icons in the dashboard, with the exception of the invoice. This is the one that is tied to the email icon next to the invoice in the trip screen. So this is the main one that people are still using, even if they're using automated emails. So anyway, you select the one that you want. You put in your subject, put in your body of the email. Now at the bottom of each template is a list of the available merge fields that you can use. So you cannot, if it's not on this list, you cannot insert it in here. If you try to use one like, say, nickname, for example, on this one, the client will see hi, and they will actually see the code that says nickname here because it's not an available merge field you can use. So anyway, you set these up however you want. You can see this is what I have in mind. Now for these, because of the way they work, you cannot use, you can't change the font or the color. You cannot insert pictures or anything like that because those email icons are actually links that are generated that when you click on it, your computer opens up in your preferred email program. So because it's an actual link, there's no way to put pictures and things like that in there. So you can set these up, click save, and then you can start clicking your email icons. Now you saw, this is what I have on my template. Now if I go to my final payments due, let's pretend this is due next week and I want to email the client to let them know. I just click this email icon and it's going to open up in my preferred email program, which is Outlook. And you can see this is pretty much what you just saw on the other screen, except rather than seeing those codes, you're seeing the client's name, an actual balance, due date, booking number, and so on. Now, if you click that icon and nothing happens, there are a couple things to check. The most common one is you need to set your default email program on your computer. If you have a program installed on your computer like Outlook or Apple Mail if you're on a Mac, this is set up for a PC. You can change that under Control Panel and Default Programs. If you are on a Mac, you can go into the Apple Mail, and I think it's under File and Preferences, and it'll say Default Email Reader. So you need to select whatever it is. It could be Outlook even if you're on a Mac. Select your default email program. If you use a web-based email like Gmail or Yahoo or similar, there are websites out there, and I'll link this in the comments or in the description of this video. This website I send out to users at least once a week because it's a breakdown to show you how to set, in this case, Gmail as the default email program for Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari. So it'll kind of help you there. Alright, so those are your regular email templates. Set those up, and then again they're tied to the email icons. Now the next option you have are the auto email templates here. These are the emails that are automatically sent out by the system when they are triggered to do so. So these are very similar to the last template screen you saw, except you can see there are some more settings on each one, and you will have a toolbar here where you can play around with the font and color and formatting and insert pictures and things like that. These are a lot more advanced. You can do things like pictures, and you can see I made this red because it's important. I've got a logo in my signature, and again, same situation, put in the body or the subject, put in the body. Now these also, like if I were in the middle of creating this and I put in this here and I know I want to insert the balance here, I can just go down here and I can find the merge field that I want, and then I click here and it'll automatically insert it in the same font and color that you're already using wherever your cursor is. So you don't need to copy and paste these or manually type them. You can just put the cursor where you want to insert it, click here, and it'll put it in there. And then you also need to set the number of days before the event or after the event to trigger it. So I've picked 14 here, and then you can set all this up. You can click enable, which I've done up here, without turning it on yet. If you're not quite ready, the trigger to turn them actually on is to check these boxes. Check this box and it will send them out. If I uncheck this and save it, it will not send it out. So keep that in mind. You can work on it slowly as you go till you get it just perfect how you want it, and then you can turn it on. Now, if you're a new user, I would strongly suggest you take your time on using the ones like the final payment reminders, because since these are automated, it goes through, there are a couple pieces of information that have to be entered and entered correctly in order for it to send. So the final payment reminder one, for example, it will only send to a client whose trip is marked as deposited. So I see a lot of users that skip over the trip status, or they don't update it and it goes expired. It will not send final payment reminders for those trips. So it has to be deposited, and obviously you have to have a final payment due date entered, and you have to put in the number of days before that due date that you want these to send out. You can make it whatever you want. I've picked 14, and then I want it to send again 7 days before. And what this secondary one is if it sends it 14 days before and the client never sees it or reads it or pays attention or responds to it, if it hits 7 days and it still is marked as deposited, it will send this same email again just as a secondary reminder. You don't have to have it send again, but if you do turn it on and the client does make their payment, you mark it as paid in full, it will not send the second one. And there are a couple of extra templates we've added in here that you can't do with the mail to or the email icons, like a past due payment reminder. I don't have any wording in here, but this would be for, if you want to be a little bit more urgent with your wording, because it's now past due, you can set that up. You can do birthday greetings, anniversary greetings, upcoming reservations, any last minute info you want to send out to your client, currently away, this is designed to check in with the client while they're currently traveling. So if you want to, make sure everything's going all right, or, remind them to tag you on social media, things like that. You've got a welcome home. This one, quote follow-up, this is tied to the leads of the system. So when you create a trip lead, there are statuses you can mark the lead as, like initial contact, info sent, quote sent, and so on. This is tied to that, and it's tied to the status of quote sent. So I've got a 3 in here, and obviously you can see I haven't taken a lot of time to write something out because this is just a demo count. But in this situation, if I mark a lead as quote sent, if it is still in that same quote sent status 3 days later, it's going to send this email to the client automatically. So the idea is it follows up with them automatically if they have not booked or told you that they changed their mind, they're not going to go on their trip. And then as we get down, you get into some of the automated emails we've also added in addition to the original ones. Like this is tied to the invoice approval follow-up to make sure that clients are signing their invoice approval. And then the last 3 down here, these are tied to the API forms, like the registration form and payment form. The idea here is you can just send a quick email to the client to say, hey, thanks for submitting your info, I received it, just so they know that you did receive it. So those are your auto emails. Now again, admins, you can view and edit the templates for your ICs if you'd like. If you just want to see if they have it set up correctly or do it for them, you can do so. But non-admins will not have this option. So those are your regular auto email templates. Now, once we created this, we got a huge surge of users that wanted all sorts of other templates. And yes, we probably could have added them one by one, but the problem would be is, if we added a template for every single request we had for these, there would be hundreds, and not everyone wants to see that big of a list, nor do they want to use that many. So rather than us create them one by one, we added another feature here called email groups. So email groups are automated as well, and they are a way for you to set up customized for whatever you want emails. So the idea here is, let's say there are 5 or 6 emails that you send every client on every trip, and rather than have to remember to send them out at the right time or date or whatever, you can set these templates up, and then you can apply them to a client's trip or a group profile, and then the system will automatically send those out when it is triggered to do so. And I have some ideas in the user center. There's a PDF document with some different ideas on what you can use these for, but I would say the most common one I've seen is agents will set these up at a destination level so that they can apply them to a client's trip based off the destination they're going to. So for example, I've got Jamaica emails here, and if I go into that, basically you create the group first, which I've done. I've named it Jamaica Trip Emails. You want to name it something you're going to recognize from just that title right there, because when you apply them, that's all you see initially. And then you want to set up your trigger screen. The trigger screen it determines a couple of things. One, where you can apply these to. So you can see I've set up trip as the trigger screen, so that means I can only apply this to a client's trip. I can't apply it from the reservation screen, I can't apply it from the client's profile or the group profile screen. So this is important because you cannot change this after you've started with one trigger screen. You can't change it later to another one. You can see it's grayed out. I can't change it from trip to, say, reservation. This is to allow you to share this group if you want to create them for your entire agency. You can share them with other agents so they can use them rather than everyone have to create their own. It's up to you. So you create the group first, click save, and then you're going to add your actual email tasks. This is where you add your individual emails. So when I think of traveling to Jamaica, one of the first things I think of is Club MoBay at the airport. It's a great service. I do it every time I go there, and that might be something that you might want to tell your clients about. And maybe you don't always have time to tell them, or you don't always remember. So you could come in here and you could create an email task specifically for Club MoBay for your clients going to Jamaica. So again, same as the other emails, you put in the subject, put in the body. You can see I threw a couple pictures in here. One new thing you'll see here is there's an additional merge field that's 60 before trip date. So you can see what I've done here is I put the deadline to book this is, and then I inserted this. What the client will see is an actual date, like July 7th, which, that date that displays will be whatever date equals 60 days before the trip date. However, you can change this number to 90, 180, 30, something like that, and it will do the math and it will insert whatever date equals X amount of days before the trip date. So I just put this in, and then at the bottom you're going to select the actual trigger. Now back to that trigger screen on the last screen, I would recommend that most of these you're going to use Trip as the trigger screen. It really has the best triggers. Reservation is an option for the trigger screen, but I have found that most of the triggers in there aren't very helpful for sending an email at a very specific time. Whereas Trip, you can use different things. All of this stuff comes from the Trip screen, but the main ones that are useful to you or most people are going to be created date, which is the date that the trip was created, which is typically when they book. So if you need to send something, based off of when they booked, you can use that. You can also use final payment due date, trip date, or return date. Those are going to be the four main ones you're going to use in most cases. So in this case, I've said I want this to send 80 days before their trip date, and then I save it. And then you go ahead and go back and you can add one for, say, excursions. You can put in a link. Most of the tours and excursion companies have affiliate links where you can generate a link, send it to your clients, and if they book on their own, you still get the commission for it. You could set one up like this. Like here, I've put a Project Expedition link in here where I may have created a wish list for the top excursions in Jamaica through Project Expedition, and then you can generate a link to that wish list, and when the client clicks on that, they see a list of those that you've hand selected of your agency's client's favorite excursions in Jamaica. And then again, I've set that one to go 90 days before the trip date. And then you can do extra fun stuff, like maybe you want to send a local authentic recipe to the destination they're going to, stuff like that builds excitement for them. Maybe you want to do like a last minute things to know that they should know, where you can talk about international data plans and currency. Here I've got a link to the customs and immigration form for clients going to Jamaica, where they can fill that out ahead of time. And another popular thing is agencies will create an email template for each resort that they sell in that destination. Now this is just a demo account. These don't actually go to anyone, so I don't have all of them in here by any means, but I've got one in here for Secrets. So for my clients that might be going to Secrets Wild Orchid or Secrets St. James, I have created this template here where I put in things like the resort activities from the website. Here's where they can pre-book spa appointments. I threw a map on there where they can see a map of the resort ahead of time. So you can do stuff like this for each and every resort that you sell in that destination. And then once you get all these set up, when you book a client's trip and you get everything entered, like the dates and all of that, you can just come up here and you can say I want to apply a whole group of emails, and you can select the one that you want. Now again, if you do not see a group that you created on this screen, it means that either A, you're on the wrong screen. I'm on the trip screen, so I'm only seeing trip triggered emails, or when you set the email group up, you use the wrong trigger screen. So in this example, I'm going to use Jamaica emails, and it's going to give me a list of all of the emails I have in there. Now you can ignore certain emails if they don't apply. Like if the client said I don't want to do any excursions on this trip, I just want to relax, I don't want to have a schedule, fair enough, you can ignore this task or you can keep them all. It's up to you. And then what this is for is if I turn this off like this, that email will only go to the lead passenger, which if you're booking family trips is probably okay. It'll go to one member of the family and they're going to relay that information with the rest of the family. But if you're doing like a destination wedding or a group, or any time that you have a group of friends going together where they're more like a roommate situation than a family or a couple, it might be a good idea to turn this on so that not only the lead passenger receives that email, but also the additional attendees will receive it as well, so everyone gets it. Now, again, if you had several resorts in here, in this case, if they were, let's say they were going to secrets, I would check the box to ignore my templates for, say, like couples and sandals and, you know, any other resorts that I have a template for this destination. That way it doesn't send someone going to secrets information on couples resorts or whatever it may be. So you click apply, and then it's going to add all of those emails to this trip and queue them up to send out. And if you want to view those again, you can just scroll down here towards the bottom of the screen and you can see I have 5 pending custom emails. So here's the one for the excursions, and you know, here's information about the resort. Now if you want to change any details here, you can always go to edit, and let's say you want to change the date. So this is on the 27th. Let's say I don't like sending out emails on Monday morning because you know how it is checking your email Monday. You get through them as quick as possible. You know, maybe you want to wait till later in the week to send it to them. I can change this to the 29th. I could change any little details in here that I want, and I could click save. And now it will send on the 29th rather than, I think it was the 27th. Yeah, so now it's going to send on the 29th. So that's how you operate those. Really, those you can get as creative as you want. You can set up as many different groups as you want. You can have as many emails within that group as you want, and those are a huge time saver. It does take a little bit of work to, you know, get them all built, but if you have multiple agents at your agency, I've seen a lot of agents that will say, you know, I'll do this destination, you do this one, next person does this one. You know, work together and share them with each other so you don't need to create them all from scratch by yourself. And then also, while we're on this screen, these here are tied to the regular auto emails. So that was another issue we ran into, was things like the final payment reminder would only go to the lead passenger. So myself and Lauren are going on this trip. If I check this box, she will also receive automated emails for things related to this trip, like the final payment reminder, upcoming reservation, currently away, welcome home. That will send that to them. So again, if you have situations where it's a group of friends going or something like that, you can check this box. So give them a try. If you have any questions, as always, just reach out and let us know. We'll be glad to help you out. Thank you.